She never told the billionaire CEO about their daughter until the girl needs his rare blood type. Dr. Reed, please tell me you found a donor. Ember Sinclair's voice cracked as she gripped the hospital bed rail, watching her 8-year-old daughter Willow lie unconscious, pale as the white sheets surrounding her. Machines beeped ominously while 4 tubes delivered life-sustaining fluids into her small arm. Miss Sinclair, I'm sorry, but we've exhausted our donor database. Your daughter has AB-negative blood with the Duffy-negative antigen. It's found in less than 0.2% of the population. Dr. Reed's voice was gentle but grave. Without a transfusion in the next few hours, her condition will become critical. There has to be someone, somewhere, who matches. We're still searching, but I need you to think carefully. Any blood relatives who might be compatible, parents, siblings, anyone who might share this extremely rare blood type. Ember closed her eyes, her heart breaking as she faced the impossible truth. There was someone she had spent 8 years trying to forget, someone who didn't even know Willow existed. Her father, she whispered. Can you contact him immediately? It's complicated. Miss Sinclair, your daughter is dying. Complicated doesn't matter right now. Have you ever had to swallow your pride and face the man who broke your heart to save your child's life? Have you ever had to reveal a secret so massive that it could destroy everything you've built, but staying silent could cost you everything that truly matters? This is the story of Ember Sinclair, a woman who kept the ultimate secret for 8 years, until her daughter's life depended on revealing the truth that could change 3 lives forever. What Ember didn't know was that Phoenix Remington, the billionaire tech mogul whose rare blood could save their daughter, had spent 8 years searching for the woman who disappeared without explanation. The woman who had owned his heart completely, until she vanished like smoke, leaving him to wonder what he had done wrong. If you believe in the power of a mother's love and the secrets we keep to protect our children, hit that like button right now. Because this story will take you on an emotional journey through love, loss, sacrifice, and the moment when keeping a secret becomes impossible. Stay with me as we go back 9 years to where it all began, in the gleaming towers of Remington Technologies, where a brilliant marketing director was about to fall for her impossibly handsome boss in the most forbidden way possible. 9 years earlier, the 35th floor of Remington Technologies buzzed with the electric energy of a company on the verge of changing the world. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered breathtaking views of Seattle's skyline, while cutting-edge technology and sleek design created an atmosphere where innovation felt inevitable. Ember Sinclair stood in the conference room, her presentation remote steady in her hand despite the intensity of the moment. At 23, she was the youngest marketing director in the company's history, known for her brilliant campaigns and her ability to understand consumer psychology in ways that seemed almost magical. The Phoenix Project isn't just about launching a new social platform, she said, clicking to her final slide. It's about creating digital connection that feels genuinely human. Our research shows that users crave authenticity, not perfection. They want platforms that celebrate real life, not curated fantasies. Around the mahogany conference table, board members nodded with approval. But Ember's attention was focused on the man at the head of the table, the one whose opinion mattered more than all the others combined. Phoenix Remington was 36 years old and commanded attention without trying. 6 feet 3 inches of lean strength wrapped in perfectly tailored suits, dark hair that caught the light, and those piercing blue eyes that seemed to see straight through to your soul. As CEO of Remington Technologies, he had built a tech empire worth billions, but there was something in his expression that suggested success hadn't brought him peace. Exceptional work, Miss Sinclair, he said, his voice carrying the authority that made Fortune 500 competitors nervous. Your campaign strategy captures exactly what we're trying to achieve. Thank you, Mr. Remington. I believe authenticity is the future of digital marketing. I agree completely. Could you stay after the meeting? I'd like to discuss implementation details. The other board members filed out, leaving Ember alone with Phoenix in the conference room. The space suddenly felt smaller, more intimate, charged with an energy she didn't quite understand. That was brilliant, Phoenix said, moving to the window. You understand consumer behavior in a way that's rare in this industry. I study people. I try to understand what drives them, what they're really looking for beneath surface desires. And what do you think people are really looking for? Ember considered the question carefully. Connection, purpose, the feeling that they matter to someone, that their lives have meaning beyond just existing. Phoenix turned from the window to study her face. That's very insightful. What about you, Ember? What are you looking for? The use of her first name sent an unexpected thrill through her. I want to create things that matter. Marketing that doesn't just sell products, but genuinely improves people's lives. That's exactly why I hired you. You see the bigger picture. Most people think marketing is about manipulation. I think it's about connection. I think you're exactly right. They stood in the conference room as the Seattle skyline glittered beyond the windows, and Ember felt something shift between them. Something dangerous and impossible and absolutely forbidden. Over the following months, their professional relationship deepened into something that felt much more personal. Phoenix began asking for her input on decisions beyond marketing. She found herself staying late to work on projects that could have waited until morning. Their conversations evolved from business strategy to philosophy, dreams, and the complexities of building something meaningful in a world obsessed with profit. You don't have to stay so late, Phoenix said one evening, finding Ember still at her computer at 9 p.m. The campaign launch isn't for another month. I want it to be perfect. This platform could change how people connect online. It's already perfect. You've created something extraordinary. There's always room for improvement. Phoenix moved closer to her desk, and Ember became acutely aware of his presence. Ember, you know you're remarkable, don't you? I'm dedicated to my work. You're dedicated, brilliant, creative, and completely unaware of your own impact. She looked up from her computer to find him studying her with an intensity that made her heart race. Mr. Remington, I think we should maintain professional boundaries. You're probably right. But I find myself wanting to know you beyond conference rooms and marketing strategies. That's not appropriate. No, it's not. But it's honest. The honesty in his voice undid something in Ember's careful composure. This is complicated. The best things usually are. You're my boss. I'm aware of that. There are rules about workplace relationships. There are also rules about letting fear prevent you from pursuing something meaningful. Ember saved her work and closed her laptop, needing to create distance before she made a decision she couldn't take back. I should go home. Have dinner with me. Phoenix, we can't. We can't. We're both adults, both single, both clearly feeling something that has nothing to do with work. Your family would never approve of you dating an employee. My family doesn't run my personal life, doesn't it? The question hung between them like a challenge. Phoenix's family, particularly his father James Remington, were known for their strong opinions about appropriate social connections. Ember had heard the whispers about the pressure for Phoenix to marry within their social circle. Have dinner with me, Phoenix repeated. Just dinner. No pressure, no expectations beyond good conversation. Against her better judgment, Ember heard herself saying yes. The restaurant Phoenix chose was intimate and discreet, the kind of place where Seattle's elite could dine without attracting attention. Ember felt out of place in her simple black dress among the designer gowns and carefully styled socialites. You look beautiful, Phoenix said as they were seated at a corner table. I feel underdressed. You look perfect. Real, genuine, not trying to be anyone other than yourself. Is that unusual in your world? More unusual than you might imagine. They talked for 3 hours, about everything and nothing. Ember learned that Phoenix had started his first company at 19, that he preferred books to parties, that he sometimes wondered if his success was worth the isolation it brought. Don't you get lonely? She asked as they shared dessert. Constantly. Success is supposed to bring fulfillment, but mostly it brings obligations and people who want things from you. What do you want that you can't have? Honest conversation. Someone who sees me as a person rather than a bank account or a business opportunity. Is that what this is? Honest conversation. With you, it feels like something even better. What's that? Connection. Real connection with someone who challenges me to be better than I am. 6 months later, their relationship had evolved into something beautiful and dangerous and completely secret. They met for dinner at quiet restaurants, took long walks through Pike Place Market, spent Sunday mornings reading newspapers in Phoenix's penthouse apartment. Ember had never felt more alive or more terrified. She was falling in love with a man whose world she didn't belong to, whose family would never accept her, whose very presence in her life felt like borrowed time. I have something to tell you, Phoenix said one Sunday morning as they sat on his terrace overlooking Elliott Bay. That sounds ominous. My father is planning an announcement. A business merger with Worthington Industries. Ember's heart sank. She knew what business mergers meant in Phoenix's world. And the merger comes with expectations. Social expectations. About Raven Worthington. My father believes that combining our companies and our families would create the most powerful tech dynasty on the West Coast. What do you believe? I believe in following my heart rather than my father's business strategies. Even if it costs you everything. What's everything worth if it doesn't include the person you love? The word hung between them like a confession. Love. Phoenix had said he loved her. Phoenix, your family will never accept me. I'm a marketing director from Portland whose father was a mechanic and whose mother cleaned houses. I don't care about any of that. You will when your father threatens to disinherit you. Money isn't everything, Ember. Easy to say when you've never been without it. They sat in silence, the weight of their impossible situation settling between them like fog. What if we tried? Phoenix said finally. What if we stopped hiding and just told everyone the truth? The truth about what? That I'm in love with you. That you're the smartest, most genuine person I've ever met. That I don't want to marry Raven Worthington or anyone else my father chooses. And when your family cuts you off, when your board of directors loses confidence, when society pages tear me apart as the gold digger who seduced their prince. We'll handle it together. Will we? Or will you wake up one day and realize that love isn't enough to overcome the practical realities of our different worlds? Phoenix moved closer to her on the terrace furniture. Ember, I know this is complicated. I know there are obstacles. But what we have is real, and I'm willing to fight for it. I'm scared. So am I. But I'm more scared of losing you than I am of facing my family's disapproval. For a moment, Ember allowed herself to believe it could work. That love really could conquer the vast differences in their backgrounds. That Phoenix's feelings for her were strong enough to withstand the pressure his family would bring to bear. But deep down, she knew better. The announcement came 2 weeks later, just as the Phoenix project was launching to unprecedented success. Ember was in her office reviewing media coverage when her assistant knocked with an urgent expression. Miss Sinclair, you need to see this. The news article filled her computer screen like a knife to the heart. Remington Technologies CEO Phoenix Remington announces engagement to socialite Raven Worthington. The merger of two tech dynasties promises to reshape the industry landscape. Ember stared at the photo of Phoenix and Raven at what appeared to be an intimate dinner, her hand prominently displaying an enormous diamond ring. Raven was everything Ember was not. Tall, blonde, perfectly polished, born into the exact social circle that Phoenix inhabited. Miss Sinclair, are you all right? I'm fine. Just surprised by the news. But she wasn't fine. She felt like she was drowning in her own office chair, struggling to breathe as the implications crashed over her. Phoenix hadn't told her about the engagement. He had let her believe they had a future while planning a completely different life. Her phone buzzed with a text from Phoenix. Don't believe what you read. We need to talk immediately. Ember turned off her phone without responding. She couldn't face explanations or justifications or whatever lies he might offer to make sense of the engagement announcement. Instead, she walked to the executive floor with her resignation letter already composed in her mind. Phoenix's office doors were closed, but she could hear voices inside. Familiar voices. Phoenix and his father, James Remington, having what sounded like an intense conversation. The engagement announcement was premature, Phoenix was saying. I didn't authorize the press release. The engagement is happening whether you authorize the announcement or not, James replied coldly. Raven Worthington is perfect for our family and our business interests. I don't love Raven Worthington. Love is a luxury that men in our position can't afford. Raven brings social connections, business opportunities, and the kind of breeding that will produce appropriate heirs. This isn't the 19th century, Dad. I can choose my own wife. Can you? Because I've seen you sneaking around with that marketing girl, and it needs to stop immediately. Ember's heart stopped. They knew about her relationship with Phoenix. Ember Sinclair is brilliant, accomplished, and worth 10 of Raven Worthington. Ember Sinclair is a pretty distraction from a working-class family with no social connections and no understanding of our world. She understands authenticity and genuine connection, which is more than I can say for most of our social circle. She understands an opportunity when she sees one. Do you really think a girl from her background would be interested in you if you weren't worth billions? That's not true, isn't it? How long do you think her affection will last when the novelty wears off and she realizes what she'd be giving up to be with you? How long before she decides that your money is more appealing than your person? You don't know her. I know her type. Ambitious, calculating, willing to seduce her way into a better life. She's using you, Phoenix, and you're too infatuated to see it clearly. She's never asked me for anything. She doesn't even want people to know we're together, because she's smart enough to play the long game. But mark my words, if you pursue this relationship, she'll destroy everything our family has built. Ember had heard enough, more than enough. She backed away from the office doors feeling like her heart had been ripped from her chest. Phoenix's father had just reduced her to every ugly stereotype about women who dared to love above their station. And Phoenix, despite his protests, hadn't been strong enough to shut down the conversation completely. Worse, James Remington's words had awakened doubts she'd been trying to suppress. Was she really just a distraction? Had she been naive to believe Phoenix would choose her over his family's empire? The engagement announcement suggested she had been. Comment below if you've ever had to make an impossible choice between love and self-respect, because what Ember did next would change everything. Ember went back to her office, composed a formal resignation letter, and placed it on Phoenix's desk while he was still arguing with his father. She cleaned out her personal items, said goodbye to her team, and walked out of Remington Technologies forever. She didn't return Phoenix's calls. She didn't read his texts. She changed her phone number and moved out of her Seattle apartment in a single weekend. 2 weeks later, sitting in a doctor's office in Portland, Ember stared at test results that would change her life forever. "Congratulations, Miss Sinclair. You're pregnant." The words echoed in the small examination room as Ember processed what they meant. She was carrying Phoenix's child. The child of a man who was engaged to another woman, who had never told her about his family's pressure, who lived in a world that would never accept her. How far along? About 6 weeks. Are you pleased with the news? Pleased. Ember didn't know what she felt. Terrified, certainly. Overwhelmed. But underneath the fear, something else was beginning to grow. Hope. Love. The fierce protectiveness that comes with carrying new life. "I'm surprised," she managed. "Do you have support?" "The baby's father." "The father isn't available." "I see. Well, there are resources available for single mothers. Support groups, financial assistance programs. I'll be fine. I'll figure it out." And she would. Somehow, some way, she would build a life for herself and her child that didn't depend on Phoenix Remington's approval or his family's acceptance. That night, Ember sat in her small Portland apartment, hands on her still flat stomach, making decisions that would shape 3 lives forever. She could tell Phoenix about the pregnancy. She could demand financial support, custody arrangements, acknowledgement of his parental responsibilities. She could force her way into his world and deal with the consequences. Or she could disappear completely. Raise the child on her own terms, in her own world, without the complications of Phoenix's family or the constant reminder of a love that hadn't been strong enough to overcome social expectations. The engagement announcement was still fresh in her mind. Phoenix had chosen his path. Now she would choose hers. She chose freedom. She chose self-respect. She chose to raise her child away from the judgment and manipulation of people who saw her as a threat to their carefully constructed world. She never told Phoenix Remington that he was going to be a father. 8 years later, Ember had built a life that exceeded her wildest dreams. Her boutique marketing agency, Sinclair Strategies, had become one of the most respected firms in Portland, known for authentic campaigns that connected with real people rather than manufactured personas. Her daughter Willow was everything beautiful about Phoenix with none of the complications. 8 years old, brilliant, creative, with striking blue eyes and dark hair that caught the light exactly like her father's. She was an artist who saw the world in colors and possibilities, a child who asked thoughtful questions and created beauty wherever she went. "Mom, why don't I look like you?" Willow asked one morning over breakfast, studying her reflection in the chrome surface of their refrigerator. "You look like yourself, sweetheart. That's the most important thing. But I have blue eyes and dark hair, and you have green eyes and red hair. Kids at school say I must look like my dad." Ember's heart clenched. This conversation had been inevitable, but she still wasn't prepared for it. What do you think about that? I think I'd like to know what he looks like. Do you have pictures? It's complicated, Willow. Everything interesting is complicated. That doesn't mean it's impossible. 8-year-old wisdom delivered with matter-of-fact certainty. Ember marveled at her daughter's clarity and dreaded the day when simple questions would require complex answers. Someday we'll talk about your father. When you're older and can understand the whole story. How old is old enough? I don't know yet. Will you know when I get there? I hope so. Willow seemed satisfied with this answer, returning her attention to the watercolor painting she was creating at the kitchen table. She was working on a series of portraits of imaginary people, each one more expressive and emotionally complex than seemed possible for a child her age. This one is a businessman, she said, showing Ember a painting of a man in a suit looking out a window. He looks sad, even though he is everything he wants. Ember's breath caught. The painting looked remarkably like Phoenix, though Willow had never seen a photo of him. There was something in the expression, the posture, the sense of isolation despite obvious success. Why do you think he's sad? Because having everything you want isn't the same as having everything you need. What does he need? Love. Real love. The kind that makes you feel like you matter. Ember stared at her daughter, amazed by the depth of understanding in someone so young. You're very wise. I get it from you. I think you get it from yourself. That afternoon, Ember sat in her office reviewing proposals for a new campaign when her assistant buzzed with an urgent tone. Miss Sinclair, there's a call from Willow's school. They say it's an emergency. Ember's world tilted. Put them through immediately. Miss Sinclair, this is Principal Martinez. Willow collapsed during the school play rehearsal. The paramedics are transporting her to Portland Children's Hospital. You need to get there immediately. The drive to the hospital passed in a blur of traffic lights and desperate prayers. Ember found Willow in the emergency room, unconscious and pale, surrounded by monitors and medical equipment that looked too large for her small body. What happened? Ember demanded of the attending physician. Your daughter suffered what appears to be acute anemia. Her blood count is dangerously low, and we're running tests to determine the cause. Is she going to be okay? We're doing everything we can. But Miss Sinclair, I need to ask about family medical history. Any genetic blood disorders, any relatives with similar conditions. I don't know much about her father's medical history. We may need to contact him. Depending on what we find, family medical information could be crucial for treatment. 3 hours later, Dr. Harrison Reed entered the family consultation room with test results that would shatter Ember's carefully constructed world. Miss Sinclair, your daughter has been diagnosed with a rare blood disorder that requires immediate treatment. She needs a blood transfusion, but she has an extremely rare blood type, AB negative with the Duffy negative antigen. How rare? Found in less than 0.2% of the population. We've contacted blood banks across the Pacific Northwest, but we haven't found a compatible donor yet. What does that mean? It means we need to find someone with her exact blood type very quickly. Family members are the most likely matches. Can you contact her father? Ember felt the weight of 8 years of secrets crashing down on her. The choice she had made to protect her daughter from Phoenix's complicated world had just become a choice that could cost Willow her life. It's complicated. Ms. Sinclair, your daughter's condition is critical. We need to explore every possible option for finding a compatible donor. Ember closed her eyes, seeing Phoenix's face in her memory, remembering a conversation from 9 years ago when he had mentioned having a rare blood type that made him a valuable donor for emergencies. The same blood type that could now save their daughter's life. I need to make a phone call. Share this if you believe a mother will do anything to save her child, because what happens next will test everything Ember thought she knew about sacrifice, forgiveness, and the price of keeping life-changing secrets. The phone number hadn't changed in 8 years. Ember stared at her cell phone screen. Phoenix's contact information still saved under P. Remington, work, as if keeping the professional label could somehow distance her from the personal devastation he had caused. Her hands trembled as she sat in the hospital family room, knowing that the next few minutes would unravel 8 years of carefully constructed independence. But Willow lay 3 floors above her, fighting for her life, and that was all that mattered now. The phone rang once, twice. On the 3rd ring, a familiar voice answered. Phoenix Remington. The sound of his voice hit her like a physical blow, bringing back memories she had spent years trying to bury. That same confident tone, that slight rasp that had whispered sweet words against her skin in stolen moments. "Phoenix, it's Ember." Silence. Complete, absolute silence that stretched so long she wondered if the call had dropped. Ember. Her name on his lips was barely a whisper, filled with disbelief and something that might have been longing. "Ember Sinclair, I can't believe it's really you. I need your help. Where are you? Where have you been for 8 years? I searched everywhere, hired private investigators, tried to find you." "Phoenix, I don't have time to explain everything right now. I'm at Portland Children's Hospital, and I need to know something about your medical history. You're hurt. Are you okay? What happened?" The concern in his voice was immediate and genuine, cutting through her carefully constructed emotional barriers. "I'm fine. But Phoenix, I need to know about your blood type. You mentioned once that you had a rare type. AB negative with some unusual antigen markers. Why are you asking about my blood type?" "Ember, what's going on?" Ember closed her eyes, knowing that the next words would change everything between them forever. "I have a daughter. She's 8 years old, and she's dying. She needs a blood transfusion with an extremely rare type, and you might be the only person who can save her life." The silence this time was different, charged with implications that were slowly sinking in. 8 years old, Phoenix repeated slowly. "Ember, are you telling me what I think you're telling me? She has AB negative blood with the Duffy negative antigen. The doctors say it's found in less than 0.2% of the population. That's my exact blood type." His voice had changed, becoming deeper, more intense. "Ember, is she mine?" "Yes." The admission hung between them like a detonation. 8 years of secrets, 8 years of running, 8 years of protecting their daughter from a world that might reject her, all reduced to a single word. "I have a daughter." Phoenix's voice broke on the words. "I have an 8-year-old daughter who's dying, and I didn't even know she existed." "Phoenix, I can explain everything later, but right now she needs you. Can you get to Portland Children's Hospital immediately? I'm already heading to my helicopter." "What's her name?" "Willow." "Her name is Willow Sinclair." "Willow." He repeated the name like a prayer. "I'll be there in 45 minutes." The line went dead, leaving Ember alone with the magnitude of what she had just set in motion. In less than an hour, Phoenix would meet the daughter he never knew existed. The child who looked exactly like him, who had his intelligence and his intensity, who had been asking about her father with increasing frequency. Ember returned to Willow's room, where her daughter lay unconscious, looking impossibly small and fragile among the medical equipment. The monitors showed her vital signs holding steady but weak, her body fighting a battle that science could win if they could just find the right ammunition. "Ms. Sinclair." Dr. Reed appeared beside her with updated test results. "We've run additional blood work, and your daughter's condition is more complex than we initially thought. She has a genetic blood disorder that's been dormant until now. The good news is that it's treatable with the right blood transfusion and ongoing medical management." What triggered it? Sometimes these disorders activate during periods of physical or emotional stress. Has Willow been dealing with anything unusual lately? Ember thought about the conversations they'd been having about Willow's father, the questions that were becoming more frequent and more specific. She's been asking about her father, about why she doesn't look like me, about whether she'll ever meet him. That kind of emotional questioning can certainly create stress in a child. But Ms. Sinclair, once we get her stabilized with the transfusion, this condition is very manageable. She can live a completely normal life. If we can find a donor. Have you had any luck reaching family members? Her father is flying in from Seattle. He has the same blood type. That's excellent news. When will he arrive? Within the hour. Dr. Reed made notes in Willow's chart. I'll have the blood compatibility tests ready. If he's a match, we can begin the transfusion immediately. 30 minutes later, Ember heard the distinctive sound of a helicopter landing on the hospital's rooftop helipad. Her heart rate spiked as she realized Phoenix was here, in the same building, about to meet their daughter for the first time under the most dramatic circumstances imaginable. She stood by Willow's bedside, watching her daughter's peaceful face, trying to memorize this moment before everything became infinitely more complicated. "Excuse me, are you Ember Sinclair?" Ember turned to find a hospital security guard at the door. "Yes. There's a gentleman here asking for you. Says his name is Phoenix Remington. Send him up." He's quite insistent about seeing you immediately. And ma'am, he's got quite an entourage with him. Personal assistant, security detail, what looks like a private medical team. Of course he did. Phoenix didn't do anything quietly or simply. Even emergency hospital visits came with full executive support. Just send him to room 314. The rest of his people can wait in the family lounge. 5 minutes later, Phoenix Remington walked through the door of his daughter's hospital room, and Ember's carefully constructed world shifted on its axis. He looked exactly the same and completely different. Still devastatingly handsome at 35, still possessed of that commanding presence that made everyone else seem smaller by comparison. But there were lines around his eyes that spoke of stress and sleepless nights, a gravity to his expression that hadn't been there 8 years ago. He wore a perfectly tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary, but he'd obviously dressed in a hurry. His tie was slightly askew, his usually perfect hair showing signs of being pushed back by anxious fingers. His gaze went immediately to the hospital bed, where Willow lay sleeping, and Ember watched his face transform as he saw their daughter for the first time. "Oh my God," the words were barely a whisper. "She looks exactly like me." It was true. Willow had inherited Phoenix's striking bone structure, his thick dark hair, his long eyelashes. But more than that, she had his intensity, even in sleep. The sense that powerful thoughts were always moving behind those closed eyes. "She's beautiful," Phoenix breathed, moving closer to the bed. "She's absolutely beautiful." "Don't wake her up," Ember said quietly. "She needs rest." Phoenix turned to look at Ember fully for the first time, and she felt the impact of those blue eyes like a physical force. 8 years, Ember. You kept her from me for 8 years. You were engaged to someone else. I was never engaged to Raven Worthington. That announcement was my father's manipulation, not my choice. The words hit Ember like a slap. What? I broke off that engagement the day it was announced. I spent months trying to find you, trying to explain what happened. The newspaper said. The newspaper printed what my father wanted them to print. I never proposed to Raven. I never agreed to that marriage. I was trying to figure out how to tell my family about us when that announcement blindsided me completely. Ember felt the room spinning around her. You weren't engaged. I was in love with you. I was planning to propose to you. But your father said. My father said a lot of things. None of them represented my feelings or my intentions. The revelation was devastating. Ember sank into the chair beside Willow's bed as the implications crashed over her. She had run from a lie. She had hidden their daughter from a man who had never betrayed her, who had been searching for her while she was building a life based on a misunderstanding. I heard you talking to your father, she said weakly. I heard him call me a distraction, heard him say I was using you, and you believed him over me. You didn't defend me strongly enough. I was trying to be diplomatic while planning to defy him completely. I was going to choose you, Ember. I was going to choose us. You never told me about the pressure from your family. You never explained how impossible our situation was. Because I didn't think it was impossible. I thought love was enough to overcome family expectations. And now, Phoenix looked down at their sleeping daughter, his expression transforming with something that looked like wonder mixed with heartbreak. Now I know that love isn't enough if it doesn't include trust, if it doesn't include communication, if it doesn't include the courage to believe in each other when things get complicated. Before Ember could respond, Dr. Reed appeared in the doorway with a nurse carrying medical equipment. Mr. Remington, I presume. I'm Dr. Reed, and we need to get your blood tested immediately for compatibility. Whatever you need, Phoenix said, already rolling up his sleeve. How is she? What exactly is wrong? Your daughter has a genetic blood disorder that requires immediate transfusion and ongoing treatment. The condition is manageable, but right now she needs blood that matches her very rare type. She's going to be okay. With the right treatment, absolutely. She can live a completely normal, healthy life. Phoenix submitted to blood draws and medical questions with the efficiency of someone accustomed to making quick decisions under pressure. But his attention kept returning to Willow, studying her face as if memorizing every detail. How long will the compatibility testing take? He asked Dr. Reed. About 30 minutes for preliminary results. If you're a match, we can begin the transfusion immediately. And if I'm not, we continue searching, but time becomes more critical. Phoenix nodded grimly. Is there anything else I can do? Any other tests, any specialists you need? Right now, we wait for the blood work. After Dr. Reed left, Phoenix and Ember sat in uncomfortable silence on opposite sides of Willow's bed. The 8 years between them felt like an ocean of missed opportunities and misunderstandings. What's she like? Phoenix asked quietly. She's extraordinary. Brilliant, creative, intuitive. She asks questions that make me think for hours. Does she know about me? She knows she has a father. She's been asking more questions lately about why she doesn't look like me, about whether she'll ever meet you. What do you tell her? That it's complicated. Is it? Still complicated? Ember looked at this man who had once been everything to her, who was now a stranger sitting beside their child's hospital bed. Everything about this is complicated, Phoenix. It doesn't have to be, doesn't it? You're a billionaire CEO with a life I couldn't fit into 8 years ago. I'm a single mother who built her own company in her own world. We're different people now, are we? Because looking at you now, being in the same room with you, it feels like no time has passed at all. 8 years have passed. 8 years of raising our daughter alone. 8 years of building a life that doesn't include you. It could include me now. Could it? What about your family's expectations? What about the social pressure? What about the fact that I'm still the working-class girl from Portland who isn't sophisticated enough for your world? My world is whatever I choose to make it. Is it? Because last I checked, you were still the CEO of a company that your family founded, still moving in social circles that measure people by their pedigree. Phoenix was quiet for a moment, studying Willow's sleeping face. You're right. My professional life is still complicated by family expectations and social pressures. But my personal life is mine to control. What does that mean? It means I've spent 8 years learning the difference between what looks good on paper and what actually matters. And what actually matters. This. Her. You. The family I didn't know I had. Before Ember could respond, Willow's eyes fluttered open. She looked around the hospital room with confusion, her gaze moving from Ember to the monitors to the unfamiliar man sitting beside her bed. Mom. Her voice was weak but clear. What happened? Why am I in the hospital? You got sick during play practice, sweetheart. But the doctors are taking good care of you. Willow's attention focused on Phoenix with a direct curve. Phoenix's breath caught as he looked into his daughter's eyes for the first time. Eyes that were exactly like his own, alert and intelligent despite her illness. I'm Phoenix, he said gently. I'm a friend of your mother's. You have blue eyes like me. I do. And dark hair like me. That's right. Willow studied his face with the intensity of an artist memorizing a subject. You look familiar. Do I? Like someone I've seen in pictures or dreams or something. Ember felt her heart breaking as she watched their daughter instinctively recognize the father she'd never met. Phoenix is here to help you get better, Ember said carefully. How can he help? He has the same rare blood type that you do. He might be able to give you some of his blood to make you feel better. Willow considered this with 8-year-old logic. Like sharing. Exactly like sharing. That's very nice of you, Willow said to Phoenix. Sharing blood is probably the nicest thing you can share with someone. Phoenix's eyes filled with tears he was trying hard not to shed. I would share anything with you, Willow. Why? The question hung in the air, loaded with implications that an 8-year-old couldn't possibly understand. Because you're a very special little girl who deserves to be healthy and happy. Mom says I'm special too. She says I got my artistic talent from someone important. Phoenix glanced at Ember, seeing the careful way she had constructed truths that weren't quite lies. Your mom is very wise. She is. She's the smartest person I know. She built her own company, and she takes care of me all by herself. That's very impressive. Do you have kids? The question was innocent, but it hit Phoenix like a physical blow. I'm just learning about having children. It's the best thing in the world, Willow said seriously. Even when kids get sick or ask too many questions or make mistakes. What kinds of questions do you ask? Important ones. Like why the sky is blue and why people fall in love and why some families look different from other families. Those are very important questions. Do you know the answers? I know some of them. The sky is blue because of how light bounces off tiny particles in the atmosphere. That's the science answer. But I think the sky is blue because blue is the color of possibility, and the sky is where all possibilities live. Phoenix stared at his daughter in amazement. That's the most beautiful explanation I've ever heard. I get my creativity from my father, Willow said matter-of-factly. even though I've never met him. What do you know about your father? Mom says he's someone who's very smart and very busy and very far away. She says maybe someday I'll get to meet him. Would you like that? More than anything. I have so many questions I want to ask him. Like what? Like whether he thinks about me sometimes. Like whether he would be proud of my paintings. Like whether he has blue eyes like mine. Phoenix looked across the bed at Ember, his expression pleading for permission to tell their daughter the truth. Willow, Ember said gently, there's something we need to talk about. Am I in trouble? No, sweetheart. But Phoenix isn't just Mom's friend. He's someone very special to our family. How special? Ember took a deep breath, knowing that the next words would change their daughter's life forever. Phoenix is your father. Willow's eyes went wide as she processed this information. She looked from Ember to Phoenix and back again, her artistic mind clearly trying to reorganize everything she thought she knew about her world. You're my dad. Yes, Phoenix said, his voice rough with emotion. I'm your dad. But Mom said you were far away. I was. But I'm here now. Are you going to stay? The question was simple, but it carried the weight of 8 years of absence and a lifetime of implications. I want to stay, if you want me to. I want to know everything about you. I want to know why you were far away and why you're here now and whether you like my paintings. I would love to see your paintings. I painted you once, before I knew what you looked like. I painted a businessman who looked sad, even though he had everything he wanted. Phoenix felt his heart clench. Why did you paint me sad? Because I could feel that you were missing something important. What was I missing? Me. And Mom. You were missing your family. The simple truth delivered with childlike clarity hit Phoenix harder than any business negotiation or family confrontation ever had. You're absolutely right. I was missing my family. Dr. Reed chose that moment to return with test results, his expression showing the kind of relief that medical professionals felt when everything went according to plan. Mr. Remington, you're a perfect match. We can begin the transfusion immediately. How long will it take? Phoenix asked. About 3 hours for the full transfusion. Willow will need to rest during the process, but she should start feeling better almost immediately. Will it hurt? Willow asked. Not at all, Dr. Reed assured her. It's like getting a very special gift from your father that will make you strong and healthy. The best gift ever, Willow agreed. As the medical team prepared for the transfusion, Phoenix took Willow's small hand in his much larger one. Willow, I want you to know that I didn't stay away because I didn't want to be your father. I stayed away because I didn't know you existed. Why didn't you know? Because your mom and I had a misunderstanding. We both made mistakes that kept us apart. But you're together now. We're here now, together for you. Good. Because I have 8 years of questions to ask you. I have 8 years of answers to give you. The transfusion process began with remarkable efficiency. Phoenix lay in a hospital bed beside Willow's, connected to medical equipment that would transfer his blood to their daughter. It was the most meaningful use of his wealth and privilege he had ever experienced, giving something of himself to save the child he was just beginning to know. Tell me about your paintings, he said as they waited for the process to complete. I paint feelings mostly. Happy feelings are yellow and orange. Sad feelings are blue and gray. Angry feelings are red and black. What color is love? Love is every color together, because love includes all the feelings. That's very wise. I learned it from watching Mom. She loves me in every color. Phoenix glanced at Ember, who was sitting quietly beside them, still processing the enormity of what was happening. Tell me about your mom. She's the strongest person in the world. She works really hard and takes care of me and still has time to help with my school projects. She reads to me every night and answers all my questions, even the hard ones. What are the hard questions? Like why some kids have daddies who live with them and some kids have daddies who live far away. Like why some people have lots of money and some people have to worry about paying bills. What does she tell you? She says that every family is different, but love is what makes families real. She says money is just a tool, and what matters is how you use it to help people. Phoenix looked at Ember with new respect. Your mom is very smart. I know. That's why I want to be like her when I grow up. What do you want to be? An artist who helps people feel better. Like Mom helps businesses tell their stories, I want to help people tell their feelings through pictures. That sounds like a wonderful career. What do you do for work, Dad? Dad. The word hit Phoenix like lightning. casual and natural, as if Willow had been saying it her whole life. I run a technology company. We create software that helps people connect with each other. Like the internet. Sort of. We make programs that help people share ideas and work together on projects. Do you like it? I used to think I did. Now I'm wondering if I've been doing it for the right reasons. What are the right reasons? To help people. To make the world a little bit better. Mom says that's the only reason to do any job. Your mom is right about a lot of things. As the transfusion continued, Phoenix found himself falling completely in love with this remarkable child who shared his blood and apparently his intensity for asking probing questions. Dad, can I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you love Mom? The question came from nowhere, delivered with the directness that children used when they wanted real answers. Phoenix looked across at Ember, who had gone very still at their daughter's question. That's a very complicated question, Willow. No, it's not. Either you love someone or you don't. Sometimes grown-ups have complicated feelings. But underneath the complicated feelings, do you love her? Phoenix met Ember's eyes across their daughter's bed, seeing vulnerability there that she was trying to hide. Yes, he said quietly. I love her. Do you love me? More than I knew it was possible to love someone. Good. Because I love you too, even though I just met you. How can you love someone you just met? Because you're my dad, and you gave me your blood to make me better, and you have kind eyes. That's enough to start with. 2 hours later, the transfusion was complete, and Willow's color had already begun to return to normal. Her energy was improving, and her vital signs showed the kind of steady improvement that made medical professionals optimistic. The transfusion was completely successful, Dr. Reed reported. Willow should be able to go home tomorrow, and with proper medical management, she can live a completely normal life. What does proper medical management mean? Ember asked. Regular blood work, some dietary modifications, and monitoring for any signs of relapse. But this condition is very manageable with current treatments. Will she need more transfusions? Possibly, but not frequently. And now that we know Mr. Remington is a perfect donor match, we have a reliable source if needed. Phoenix squeezed Willow's hand. I'll always be available if you need me. Promise. I promise. Good. Because I have a lot more questions to ask you. I look forward to answering them. That evening, as Willow slept peacefully with dramatically improved vital signs, Phoenix and Ember finally had the conversation they'd been avoiding for 8 years. They sat in the hospital family lounge, sharing terrible coffee and the weight of too many unspoken words. I'm sorry, Ember said finally. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about her. I'm sorry I believed your father instead of trusting you. I'm sorry I robbed you of 8 years with your daughter. I'm sorry too. I'm sorry I didn't explain the pressure from my family. I'm sorry I let you walk away without fighting harder to keep you. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to protect what we had. We were both young and scared. We were. But Ember, we're not young and scared anymore. No. Now we're older and hopefully wiser. Hopefully wise enough to not make the same mistakes twice. What are you saying? Phoenix turned to face her fully in the uncomfortable plastic chairs. I'm saying that I've spent 8 years comparing every woman I met to you and finding them wanting. I'm saying that I never got married because no one ever made me feel the way you did. Phoenix, I'm saying that I want to be part of Willow's life, not just as a blood donor or an occasional visitor, but as her father. And I want to be part of your life too, if you'll let me. It's not that simple. Why not? We love each other. We have a daughter together who desperately wants a family. Because 8 years have passed. Because we're different people now. Because my life is in Portland and yours is in Seattle. Those are logistics, not obstacles. Those are real considerations, Phoenix. I've built a business here, a community, a life that works for Willow and me. And I've built a company that can be run from anywhere, with technology that makes distance irrelevant. What about your family's expectations? What about them? I'm 35 years old, and I'm tired of living my life according to other people's expectations. Your father can accept my choices or not. That's his decision. Phoenix, this isn't just about us anymore. We have to think about what's best for Willow. What's best for Willow is having 2 parents who love her and each other. Is it? What happens when the novelty wears off? What happens when you realize that being a father is about school plays and bedtime stories and sick days, not just dramatic hospital visits? Then I'll learn about school plays and bedtime stories. Ember, I've spent 8 years building an empire that means nothing without people to share it with. And I've spent 8 years proving that I don't need anyone to take care of me. This isn't about need. This is about want, about choice, about building something together that's better than what either of us could create alone. Ember was quiet for a long moment, processing everything he was saying. I'm scared, she admitted finally. So am I. But I'm more scared of losing you again than I am of facing an uncertain future together. What if we hurt each other again? Then we'll figure out how to heal and do better. But Ember, what we have is worth fighting for. How do you know? Because our daughter exists. Because she's extraordinary and brilliant and kind, and she's the perfect combination of both of us. Because if we could create something that beautiful together without even trying, imagine what we could build if we put our hearts into it. Before Ember could respond, a small voice interrupted them from the doorway. Are you guys having feelings talk? They turned to find Willow standing in the doorway, wearing a hospital gown and dragging her four-pole, looking much more alert than she had earlier. Willow, you should be resting, Ember said, immediately moving to guide her daughter back to bed. I'm feeling much better, and I couldn't sleep because I kept thinking about important things. What important things? Phoenix asked. About families and how they get made. She settled into a chair between them, her four-pole beside her like a strange companion. I've been thinking that some families start with a mom and a dad who love each other and plan to have a baby together. That's right, Ember said carefully. And some families start with just a mom or just a dad who loves their baby so much that they figure out how to make everything work. Also right. But some families start in a mixed-up way, where the mom and dad love each other but get confused and make mistakes, and then they have to find their way back to each other. Phoenix and Ember exchanged glances over their daughter's head. That's also possible, Phoenix said. I think we're the third kind, Willow announced. The kind where everyone loves each other but got confused for a while. What makes you think that? Ember asked. Because when you and Dad look at each other, you get the same expression that people get in movies when they're trying not to cry because they're so happy. You're very observant. I'm an artist. I notice feelings. What else do you notice? Phoenix asked. I notice that Dad's eyes get soft when he looks at you, Mom. And I notice that you smile differently when you're talking to him. How do I smile differently? Like you're remembering something wonderful that you thought you lost. The observation was so accurate and so innocent that both adults fell silent. So I think, Willow continued with 8-year-old logic, that you should stop being confused and just be a family. It's not quite that simple, sweetheart, Ember said gently. Why not? Because grown-up relationships involve a lot of complicated decisions. Like what? Like where we would live, and how we would manage our work, and whether we're really compatible as partners. Where would you want to live? Willow asked Phoenix. Wherever you and your mom are. See, that's easy. What about work? I can run my company from anywhere, Phoenix said. And Mom's company is the best in Portland, so obviously we'd stay here. What's compatibility? It means whether people work well together as a team, Ember explained. Do you work well together? We used to. Did you stop knowing how, or did you just stop trying? The question hung in the air with devastating simplicity. We stopped trying, Phoenix admitted. So try again, Willow said, as if the solution was obvious. That's what I do when I mess up a painting. I don't throw it away. I fix the parts that aren't working and make it better. What if the painting is too damaged to fix? Ember asked. Then you use the good parts to start a new painting. But you always keep the good parts. Phoenix looked at Ember across their daughter's head. What are our good parts? We love each other, Ember said quietly. We love Willow. We're both successful, intelligent people who share similar values. And we make beautiful babies, Phoenix added with a slight smile. Just one beautiful baby, Ember corrected. So far. The implication made Ember's heart skip. Phoenix, I'm just saying that our track record for creating extraordinary human beings is pretty impressive. One sample is not a track record. It's a promising start. Willow looked between them with satisfaction. See, you're already working well together. You're planning the future and making each other smile. We're having a conversation, Ember said carefully. The best kind of conversation. The kind where everyone gets what they want. What do you think everyone wants? Phoenix asked. I want a dad who lives with us and reads bedtime stories and comes to my art shows. That sounds reasonable. Mom wants someone who loves her and helps her and doesn't try to change her. Also reasonable. And Dad wants to be part of our family and not be lonely anymore. Phoenix felt his throat tighten. How do you know Dad was lonely? Because of the painting I made before I met you. You had lonely eyes. I did have lonely eyes. But you don't now. No. Now I have hopeful eyes. Good. Because hope is the best feeling to have when you're building something new. Dr. Reed appeared in the doorway, looking concerned. Willow, you should be in bed resting. I'm having an important family meeting. Family meetings can happen tomorrow. Right now, you need sleep so your body can finish getting better. Will Mom and Dad still be here tomorrow? I'm not going anywhere, Phoenix said immediately. Me neither, Ember added. Good. Because tomorrow I want to show Dad my paintings, and I want you both to tell me stories about when you used to love each other before you got confused. As they tucked Willow back into her hospital bed, she grabbed both their hands. I'm really glad I got sick, she said seriously. Sweetheart, don't say that, Ember protested. But I am. Because if I hadn't gotten sick, I wouldn't have met my dad, and you wouldn't have remembered that you love each other. We never forgot that we loved each other, Phoenix said gently. But you forgot how to show it. Now you remember. How do you know we remember? Because you're both here, and you're both staying, and nobody's talking about complicated things anymore. She drifted off to sleep holding both their hands, leaving Phoenix and Ember connected across her small body. She's remarkable, Phoenix whispered. She's always been wise beyond her years. She gets that from you. She gets it from both of us. They sat in the quiet hospital room, holding their daughter's hands and processing everything that had changed in a single day. Phoenix, Ember said quietly, if we try this, if we try to be a family, I need you to understand that I'm not the same woman I was 8 years ago. I know. You're stronger, more independent, more accomplished. I'm also more careful with my heart, more protective of Willow's emotional security. I would never do anything to hurt either of you, intentionally. But what happens when your family pressures you again? What happens when business obligations conflict with family time? What happens when you realize that domestic life isn't as exciting as corporate conquests? Then I'll remember this moment. I'll remember my daughter asking me to read bedtime stories and my heart almost exploding with happiness. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me that if you change your mind, if you decide this isn't what you want, you'll be honest about it instead of just disappearing. I promise. But Ember, I'm not going to change my mind. How can you be sure? Because I've spent 8 years trying to fill the hole you left in my life, and nothing worked. Because I've built an empire that means nothing without people to share it with. Because our daughter just gave me more joy in one day than I've felt in 8 years of professional success. And because you love me. And because I love you more than I've ever loved anything in my life. The next morning brought sunshine streaming through the hospital windows and the sound of Willow's laughter as she showed Phoenix her sketchbook. She had brought her art supplies from home, and he was seeing 8 years of artistic development compressed into a single morning. This one is from when I was 5, she explained, showing him a crayon drawing of a stick figure family. That's me, that's Mom, and that's the space where Dad would be if he wasn't far away. You drew a space for me. I always knew you existed somewhere. I just didn't know where. Phoenix studied the drawing, seeing the careful way she had left room for a third figure. What did you imagine I looked like? Tall, strong, kind eyes. I got the eyes right. Yes, you did. This one is from last year, she continued, flipping to a watercolor painting that showed remarkable sophistication for a 7-year-old. It's called Missing Pieces. The painting showed a puzzle with one piece floating above the rest, clearly belonging, but not yet connected. That's how I felt sometimes, Willow explained. Like our family was almost complete, but missing one important piece. And now the piece fits, and the puzzle is whole. Ember watched this interaction from the doorway, marveling at how naturally Phoenix connected with their daughter. There was no awkwardness, no uncertainty, just genuine interest and delight in everything Willow shared. Dr. Reed says I can go home today, Willow announced. That's wonderful news, Phoenix said. Will you come see our house? If your mom says it's okay. Willow turned expectant eyes toward Ember. Mom, can Dad come see our house? Of course he can. And stay for dinner. Willow, and maybe stay overnight in the guest room, because I have so many more paintings to show him and stories to tell him. Phoenix looked at Ember with a question in his eyes. We'll see, Ember said diplomatically. That's grown-up talk for probably, Willow told Phoenix confidentially. I'll take probably. 2 hours later, they were driving through Portland in Phoenix's rented SUV, Willow chattering excitedly about everything they passed, while Phoenix navigated with GPS assistance. That's my school, Willow pointed out. That's where I got sick during play practice. What play were you rehearsing? Any. I'm playing an orphan who finds her family. That seems appropriate. That's what I thought too. Art imitates life. Where did you learn that phrase? From Mom. She says that sometimes the stories we tell reveal truths we didn't know we were looking for. Phoenix glanced at Ember in the passenger seat. Your mom is very philosophical. She has to be. Marketing is about understanding what people really want underneath what they think they want. And what do most people really want? To belong somewhere. To matter to someone. To feel like their lives have purpose. What about you? What do you really want? I used to want to know my dad. Now I want my parents to be happy together. That's a very mature wish. I'm a very mature 8-year-old. Ember's house was a charming craftsman bungalow in a tree-lined neighborhood that managed to feel both urban and cozy. The front yard was full of flowers that Willow had helped plant, and there was a porch swing that looked like it got regular use. This is beautiful, Phoenix said as they walked up the front steps. It's not very fancy, Ember said, suddenly seeing her home through the eyes of someone accustomed to penthouse apartments and estate properties. It's perfect. It feels like a real home. Inside, the house was filled with Willow's artwork, comfortable furniture, and the kind of lived-in warmth that money couldn't buy. It was clear that this was a space where a child was encouraged to be creative and expressive. My room is upstairs, Willow announced. I want to show Dad my art studio. Willow's bedroom was a riot of color and creativity. One wall was covered with her paintings, showing artistic development from toddler scribbles to sophisticated compositions that revealed genuine talent. These are incredible, Phoenix said, studying each piece carefully. You have a real gift. Mom says I got my artistic talent from my father's side. Phoenix looked at Ember with surprise. I haven't painted since college. You used to paint. I used to do a lot of things before business consumed my life. Maybe you could start again. We could paint together. I'd like that very much. They spent the afternoon going through 8 years of Willow's artwork, school projects, report cards, and photo albums. Phoenix absorbed every detail like a man dying of thirst finally finding water. Here's my first-grade picture, Willow said, showing him a school photo where she was missing her 2 front teeth. You look exactly like I did at that age. Do you have pictures of when you were little? Somewhere. I could find them and show you. I want to see everything. Baby pictures, school pictures, pictures of you and Mom when you used to love each other. We do have some of those, Ember admitted. Can we look at them? Maybe later. Mom keeps them in a box in her closet, Willow informed Phoenix. She thinks I don't know, but I've seen her looking at them sometimes when she thinks I'm asleep. Phoenix met Ember's eyes across their daughter's head, seeing surprise and vulnerability there. You kept pictures of us. I kept everything. I couldn't bring myself to throw away the good memories just because the ending was painful. That evening, they ordered pizza and ate it picnic style on the living room floor while Willow regaled Phoenix with stories from 8 years of life without him. Tell me about your first steps, he said. I don't remember my first steps, but Mom says I walked early because I was trying to reach her art supplies. Your first words. Mama, Kitty, and Pretty. I had my priorities straight. Your first day of school. I cried because I thought Mom wouldn't be there when I got home. But she was waiting on the porch with cookies and wanted to hear about everything I learned. Phoenix looked at Ember with admiration. You've done an incredible job raising her. We've done a good job together, haven't we, Mom? The best job, Ember agreed. Now we can do an even better job with Dad helping. As evening turned to night, Willow began yawning despite her determination to stay awake and absorb every moment with her newly discovered father. Time for bed, sweetheart, Ember said. Will Dad read me a story? If he wants to. I would love to read you a story, Phoenix said. I want to hear about the businessman who found his family. I don't think I know that story. I do. Once upon a time, there was a very successful businessman who had everything he thought he wanted. A big company, lots of money, and people who respected him. Sounds like a good life. But he was missing something important, and he didn't even know what it was. He tried working harder and making more money and buying bigger houses, but nothing filled the empty space in his heart. Phoenix tucked Willow into her bed, surrounded by stuffed animals and art supplies. What was he missing? His family. But he didn't know he had a family because of a big misunderstanding that made everyone confused. How did he find his family? His little girl got sick and needed his help. And when he came to help her, he remembered that he loved her mom and wanted to build a life together. Did they live happily ever after? They're working on it. Happily ever after takes practice. Phoenix kissed Willow's forehead, overwhelmed by the love he felt for this remarkable child. I love you, Willow. I love you too, Dad. Will you still be here when I wake up? If your mom says it's okay, she'll say yes. She wants you to stay too. She's just scared to admit it. After Willow fell asleep, Phoenix and Ember sat on the front porch swing, sharing a bottle of wine and processing the surreal events of the past 2 days. This is nice, Phoenix said, looking out at the quiet neighborhood. It's peaceful, different from the city, better than the city. You might get bored. Ember, I've been bored for 8 years. This is the first time I've felt truly alive since you left. What about your company? Your responsibilities in Seattle? Technology companies can be run from anywhere. And honestly, I've been thinking about scaling back my involvement anyway. Why? Because success without people to share it with is just an expensive form of loneliness. They swung gently in the evening air, both lost in their own thoughts. Phoenix, if we do this, if we try to build a family together, I need you to understand that I'm not going to be the accommodating girlfriend I was 8 years ago. I don't want you to be. I want you to be exactly who you are now. I have opinions about how to raise Willow. I have a business that requires my attention. I have a life that I've built carefully and deliberately. And I want to support all of that, even when it conflicts with what you want. Especially then. Ember, I've learned the difference between compromise and sacrifice. I want a partner, not a subordinate. What's the difference? Compromise means we both give something to get something better together. Sacrifice means one person gives up everything for the other person's benefit. And you're ready for compromise. I'm ready for partnership. Real partnership, where we make decisions together and support each other's dreams. What about children? Do you want more children? With you, if you want them. But I'm not going to pressure you or make it a condition of our relationship. What if I can't have more children? Then we'll pour all our love into Willow and maybe consider adoption if we want to grow our family. You've really thought about this. I've had 8 years to think about what I would do differently if I ever got a second chance with you. Ember leaned against his shoulder, feeling some of her protective walls beginning to crumble. I'm still scared. So am I. But scared together feels better than safe and alone. What happens next? Next, I go back to Seattle and arrange to relocate my operations here. I find a house in this neighborhood, close enough to be involved, but far enough to give you space. I start learning how to be a father and a partner. Just like that. Just like that. Unless you have objections. I have concerns. Tell me. I'm concerned that you're making decisions based on emotion rather than logic. I'm concerned that you'll miss your old life when the novelty of family life wears off. I'm concerned that Willow will get attached to you and then get hurt if you change your mind. All reasonable concerns. What would help you feel more confident about this? Time. Consistency. Proof that you're committed for the long term, not just caught up in the drama of the moment. How much time? I don't know. Enough time to see how you handle the ordinary moments, not just the crises. What ordinary moments? School pickups when you have important meetings. Bedtime stories when you're tired from traveling. Parent-teacher conferences and soccer games, and all the mundane responsibilities of family life. I want all of that. You think you want all of that? There's a difference. Phoenix turned to face her on the porch swing. Ember, what can I do to prove that this isn't temporary infatuation? Be patient. Let us get to know each other again slowly. Don't rush into anything permanent until we're all sure it's right. How long? A year. Give us a year to see if this works before we make any major commitments. A year of dating. A year of co-parenting and figuring out if we're compatible as adults rather than just nostalgic about who we used to be. I can live with that. Good. Because Willow's emotional security is my first priority. Mine too. They sat in comfortable silence, each imagining what the next year might bring. Phoenix. Yes. Thank you for coming when I called. Thank you for saving her life. Thank you for calling me. Thank you for giving me the chance to know her. She's the best thing I've ever done. She's the best thing we've ever done together. So far. So far. 6 months later, Phoenix had relocated his company's operations to Portland and bought a house 4 blocks from Ember and Willow. He had become a fixture at school events, soccer games, and parent activities, earning acceptance from other parents who initially saw him as an outsider. More importantly, he had proven his commitment through the ordinary moments that Ember had worried about. Late-night emergencies when Willow had the flu. School science fair projects that required more patience than he knew he possessed. The daily routine of breakfast, homework, bedtime stories, and all the small responsibilities that made up family life. "Dad, are you coming to my art show next week?" Willow asked one evening as they worked on a painting together in her art studio. "I wouldn't miss it." "Good. I'm unveiling my masterpiece." "What's your masterpiece?" "It's a secret, but it's about families and how they find each other. I can't wait to see it." "You might cry." "Why would I cry?" "Because it's about true love, and true love always makes people cry happy tears." Phoenix looked across the room at Ember, who was working on marketing materials for a new client. She had softened toward him over the months, allowing their relationship to rebuild slowly and naturally. "Are you excited about the art show?" he asked her. "Terrified. Willow's been working on something big, and she won't tell me what it is. She's very secretive about her masterpiece. She gets that dramatic flair from your side of the family." "I was never dramatic. You flew here in a helicopter for a medical emergency. That was practical, not dramatic. It was romantic." "Was it?" "Very romantic. Powerful businessman dropping everything to save his secret daughter. Not secret anymore." "No, not secret anymore." The art show was held in Willow's school gymnasium, with proud parents admiring their children's creative efforts. Willow had insisted that Phoenix and Ember sit together in the front row, claiming she needed to see both their faces when her masterpiece was revealed. "Ladies and gentlemen," the art teacher announced, "our final piece tonight is by Willow Sinclair, who has created what she calls the complete family." The curtain was pulled back to reveal a large canvas that took everyone's breath away. Willow had painted a family portrait, but not just any family portrait. She had painted Phoenix, Ember, and herself, but she had also included shadowy figures representing the people they had been before they found each other. On one side stood the lonely businessman with empty eyes. On the other side stood the strong single mother carrying all the weight alone. In the center stood a little girl reaching toward both of them, bringing them together. But the true masterpiece was how she had painted light radiating from the center where all 3 figures connected, showing how love could transform sadness into joy, isolation into connection, brokenness into wholeness. "This is my family." Willow's voice came through the microphone as she explained her painting. "We started out broken and lonely, but we found each other and became complete." Phoenix felt tears streaming down his face as he looked at his daughter's artistic interpretation of their journey. Beside him, Ember was crying too, overwhelmed by the beauty of how their child saw their story. "The most important thing I learned," Willow continued, "is that families aren't just born. Sometimes they're built by people who love each other enough to try again when they make mistakes." The applause was thunderous, but Phoenix barely heard it. He was too busy looking at the woman beside him, seeing his future reflected in her eyes. "She's extraordinary," he whispered. "She is. We made something beautiful together. Want to make something else beautiful together. What did you have in mind?" Phoenix reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, but this time it was different from 8 years ago. This time, he wasn't offering it as a culmination, but as a beginning. "I was thinking we could make a lifetime together. A real lifetime, built on truth and communication and the kind of love that gets stronger with time rather than weaker." Ember stared at the ring box, her heart racing. "Phoenix, I know we agreed to take a year. But Ember, I've spent 6 months learning to be part of your life, and I don't want to spend another day not being your husband. What about the concerns I had? About ordinary moments and long-term commitment? I think I've proven my commitment to ordinary moments. As for long-term, I'm hoping for at least 60 more years if you'll have me. And if I say yes, then we plan a wedding that makes our daughter proud, and we build the kind of marriage that shows her what real love looks like. And if I say no, then I wait however long it takes for you to be ready, because you and Willow are worth any amount of patience." Ember looked at this man who had proven his love through consistency rather than grand gestures, who had earned his place in their family through everyday dedication rather than dramatic declarations. Ask me properly. Phoenix slid off his chair onto one knee, right there in the middle of the school gymnasium, in front of all the other parents and children. Ember Sinclair, will you marry me? Not because you complete my image or fix my loneliness, but because you're my partner in every way that matters. Because together we created something extraordinary, and I want to spend the rest of my life creating extraordinary things with you. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, I'll marry you. The gymnasium erupted in applause as Phoenix slipped the ring onto Ember's finger. But the most important approval came from the stage, where Willow was jumping up and down with excitement. I told you it was about true love, she called out to the audience. And true love always has a happy ending. 6 months later, they were married in the same school gymnasium where Phoenix had proposed, surrounded by the community that had welcomed them as a family. Willow served as maid of honor, wearing a dress she had designed herself and carrying a bouquet of flowers she had painted on canvas. Do you, Phoenix, take Ember to be your wife, promising to support her dreams, share her burdens, and love her through all the ordinary and extraordinary moments of life? I do. Do you, Ember, take Phoenix to be your husband, promising to trust his commitment, share your life, and build a future based on the love you've rediscovered? I do. By the power vested in me by the state of Oregon, I now pronounce you husband and wife. As they kissed to seal their marriage, Willow cheered from the front row, along with friends, family, and the entire community that had watched their love story unfold. Ladies and gentlemen, the officiant announced, I present to you the Remington family. Phoenix, Ember, and Willow, who prove that the best families are built on love, patience, and second chances. During the reception, held in the school cafeteria decorated with Willow's artwork, Phoenix found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this moment. Any regrets? Ember asked as they danced to their wedding song. Only one. What's that? That it took a medical emergency to bring us back together. I wish I'd been brave enough to find you sooner. Maybe we needed those 8 years apart. Maybe we needed to become the people we are now before we could build something lasting. Maybe. But I'm grateful for every day from now on. Even when Willow becomes a teenager and tests our patience. Especially then. I want to be here for all of it. Even when your business requires travel and I'm grumpy about managing everything alone. Especially then. We're partners now. Real partners. And when we're old and boring and take each other for granted. Then we'll remember this day and all the days that led to it, and we'll choose to fall in love again. As the evening progressed, Phoenix watched Willow dance with her friends, her face glowing with happiness at seeing her parents together. His heart was full in a way he'd never experienced before. Dad. Willow appeared beside him during a quiet moment. Yes, sweetheart. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for bringing us together. I didn't bring you together. Love brought you together. I just helped you remember. How did you get so wise? I have really good parents. Yes, you do. Dad. Yes. Can I ask you something important? Always. Are you going to give me a little brother or sister? Phoenix nearly choked on his champagne. That's a very personal question, Willow. But are you? Your mom and I will discuss that when the time is right. I hope you do. I think I'd be a good big sister. I think you'd be the best big sister in the world. Good. Because I have a lot of love to share, and love grows when you share it instead of keeping it to yourself. Phoenix looked across the reception at his wife, who was laughing with friends, beautiful in her simple wedding dress and radiating the kind of happiness that comes from being exactly where you belong. You're absolutely right, he told his daughter. Love grows when you share it. So share lots of love, Dad. Our family is just getting started. And she was right. Their family was just getting started, built on a foundation of truth, trust, and the kind of love that gets stronger when tested by time and circumstances. In the end, the secret that Ember had kept for 8 years had become the bridge that brought them all together. Sometimes the things we hide to protect ourselves become the very things that save us when we finally find the courage to reveal them. Phoenix and Ember had learned that love isn't just about finding the right person. It's about becoming the right person, someone worthy of the extraordinary love that waits on the other side of growth, forgiveness, and second chances. And sometimes, Just sometimes, the universe conspires to bring people back together exactly when they're ready to build something beautiful from the broken pieces of what came before. Subscribe for more incredible stories about love, secrets, and the lengths we go to protect our children. Because the greatest love stories are the ones that prove that it's never too late to choose love over fear, truth over pride, and family over everything else that seems important but really isn't. The moral of this story reaches beyond romance into the very heart of what it means to be a family. Never let pride prevent you from reaching out when someone you love needs help. Never let fear of the past prevent you from building a beautiful future. And never underestimate the power of a child to see the simple truths that adults complicate with their own insecurities and fears. Sometimes the greatest gifts come wrapped in our greatest crises. Sometimes the people we think we've lost forever are just waiting for the right moment to come home. And sometimes, love really can conquer all, especially when it's supported by wisdom, patience, and the daily choice to put family above everything else.